Cowboys Nation, when you hear a player speak freely about what is really going on inside that locker room, you start to understand that football is not just about plays on a sheet or numbers on a scoreboard. It is about culture, habits, personalities, and the little details that shape a team over the course of a long season. And listening closely to what is being said here, there's a mix of humor, honesty, and subtle insight into how this Dallas offense has been evolving behind the scenes, especially when you bring a voice like CeeDee Lamb into the conversation. Before anything even gets serious, the tone already tells you a lot. There is joking, there is personality, there's that natural back and forth that shows comfort. But even in the middle of all that, something important comes up about professionalism and routine. The whole conversation around shower pills, as strange as it might sound to fans, actually reveals something deeper about preparation and discipline. In a league where every edge matters, even something as simple as post-practice habits can separate players who are fully locked in from those just going through the motions. And when you hear a player openly say that skipping that process feels wrong, it tells you how seriously he takes his craft. But once the conversation finally shifts toward football, that is where things really start to open up. Because when Lamb begins talking about the offense, you can feel the confidence building with every sentence. He is not just speaking as a receiver putting up numbers. He is speaking as someone who understands the structure of what they are building. The mention of a young offensive core is not just a throwaway comment. It is a key detail. This is a group that is still growing together, still learning how to win together, and yet already producing at a high level. That combination is dangerous for the rest of the league. And then you look at the leadership aspect, especially with the quarterback being one of the more experienced voices in that unit. Getting everyone aligned, making sure the timing is right, the reads are sharp, and the execution is clean, that is not something that happens overnight. It takes trust, repetition, and a system that players believe in. And that belief keeps coming up again and again. It is not forced, it is not scripted, it sounds real. When players start saying they trust the process and trust the system, that is when an offense begins to take on an identity of its own. What stands out even more is the way the coaching influence is described. There is energy, there is adaptability, and most importantly, there is connection. When a player says he would run through a wall for his coach, that is not something you say lightly. That speaks to a relationship that goes beyond play calling. It means the message is landing, the preparation is resonating, and the players feel empowered when they step onto the field. And in today's game, where adjustments can decide everything, having a coach who can read what is happening in real time and shift the strategy accordingly becomes a massive advantage. You can picture those sideline moments where the original game plan starts to break down because the defense is showing something different. That is where teams either panic or adapt. And according to what is being shared here, this offense leans into those moments. The ability to recognize a coverage change, communicate it quickly, and adjust on the fly is not just about intelligence. It is about chemistry. Everyone has to be on the same page instantly, or the opportunity disappears. The fact that this is being highlighted tells you that this is one of the strengths of this group. And then there is the mentality, which might be the most important piece of all. When Lamb talks about always expecting to score, regardless of what the defense is doing, that mindset says everything. It is aggressive, it is confident, and it puts constant pressure on opponents. There is no waiting around for the perfect situation, no hesitation. The expectation is simple. Go out there and put points on the board every time. That kind of approach can change the entire flow of a game, especially when it is backed by the talent to actually deliver on it. At the same time, there is an understanding of how things have changed for him personally. Early in his career, being surrounded by other playmakers meant he could develop without always being the main focus of the defense. That is a luxury not every player gets. But now, as his role has grown, so have the challenges. More attention, tougher matchups, more responsibility. And yet, instead of shying away from that, he seems to embrace it. He talks about recognizing where the pressure is coming from and finding ways to exploit it, which is exactly what elite receivers have to do at this level. And maybe one of the most interesting parts is how he views the presence of another top option on the field. Instead of seeing it as competition, he sees it as opportunity. If the defense shifts coverage away from him, that opens the door for someone else to take over. And that kind of unselfish perspective is what keeps an offense balanced and unpredictable. Because when players are genuinely rooting for each other to succeed, it forces defenses into impossible decisions. Double one guy, and someone else burns you. Play it straight, and you risk getting overwhelmed across the board. All of this paints a picture of an offense that is not just talented, but connected. There's a rhythm forming, a shared understanding that goes beyond individual performances. And when you combine that with confidence, adaptability, and leadership, you start to see why there is so much belief in what this group can become as they continue to grow together over time. And when you keep breaking it all down, the conversation starts to reveal something even bigger about how this offense sees itself moving forward. It is not just about what they already achieved. It is about what they believe they are capable of becoming. There is a clear sense that the production we have seen so far is only scratching the surface, especially when you consider how young the core still is and how much room there is for growth in timing, communication, and overall execution. That kind of internal belief can turn a good unit into something that consistently dominates. And then there is the mindset that comes from experience. When a player talks about being used to high-scoring environments, that is not just a casual statement. It shapes how he approaches every game. There is no fear of shootouts, no hesitation when the scoreboard starts climbing. Instead, it becomes almost second nature to keep pushing, to keep attacking, and to keep expecting results. That mentality is especially dangerous when combined with a system that encourages aggression and creativity, because it removes the psychological limits that can hold teams back in critical moments. At the same time, there is an awareness of how different situations require different responses. Not every game will turn into a track meet, and not every defense will allow for explosive plays right away. But having the patience to work underneath, to stay disciplined, and to wait for the right opportunity is just as important as being able to strike quickly. And this balance between aggression and control is something that seems to be developing within this offense as they gain more experience together. You can also sense a level of maturity in how roles are being embraced. As attention shifts and defensive schemes adjust, players are learning how to impact the game in multiple ways. Whether it is drawing coverage to open space for teammates or stepping up when a moment calls for it, there's a willingness to do whatever is necessary for the offense to succeed. That kind of flexibility makes it much harder for defenses to isolate one player or shut down one aspect of the game plan. And when you bring all of these elements together, the chemistry becomes undeniable. It is not just about knowing where someone will be on a route. It is about understanding how they think, how they react, and how they handle pressure. That connection allows plays to extend, adjustments to happen seamlessly, and opportunities to be created even when things do not go exactly as planned. It is the difference between a group of talented individuals and a true unit that operates as one. There's also a competitive edge that runs through everything being said, not in a reckless way, but in a controlled, confident manner that pushes everyone to be better. Whether it is challenging teammates to have big games or setting high expectations for overall performance, that internal competition fuels growth. It keeps standards high and prevents complacency from settling in, which is critical for a team with aspirations beyond just regular season success. And as this identity continues to take shape, it becomes clear that the ceiling for this offense is tied directly to how well they continue to evolve in these areas. The talent is there, the structure is forming, and the belief is already strong. What comes next depends on consistency, execution, and the ability to carry this mindset into every single game, regardless of the opponent or the situation. Because when all of these pieces align at the same time, that is when an offense becomes truly difficult to stop. And what makes this even more intriguing is how this mindset translates when the pressure is at its highest. It is one thing to talk about confidence during the flow of a regular game, but it is another to carry that same belief into late game situations where every possession matters. This is where identity gets tested the most. Do you stay aggressive or do you become conservative? From everything being said and implied, this group leans towards staying true to what got them there. They trust their preparation, they trust their reads, and most importantly, they trust each other to execute when the moment demands it. There's also a growing sense that this offense is learning how to control not just the scoreboard, but the tempo of the game itself. When a unit can dictate pace, switch gears when needed, and keep defenses off balance for 4 quarters, it becomes incredibly difficult to contain. That control does not always show up in highlight plays, but it shows up in sustained drives, in crucial third down conversions, and in the ability to respond immediately after giving up momentum. Those are the subtle differences that separate teams that can score from teams that can consistently win. And as the chemistry continues to build and the system becomes more refined, the expectations naturally rise. What once felt like progress now starts to feel like a standard that must be met every week. That is where the real challenge begins, maintaining that level while still finding ways to improve. Because in a league where adjustments happen fast and opponents study every detail, staying ahead requires constant evolution. And based on everything being expressed, this group not only understands that reality, but seems ready to embrace it as part of their journey forward. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are beginning to echo through league circles that the Dallas Cowboys may be quietly preparing a bold move to reinforce the heart of their defense. At the center of the speculation stands Patrick Queen, a linebacker whose blend of speed, instinct, and physicality has turned heads across the NFL. Sources close to the situation suggest that internal discussions within Dallas have increasingly focused on elevating the second level of their defense to championship caliber. While no formal negotiations have surfaced, the mere association of Queen's name with the Cowboys has already ignited debate among analysts and fans alike. The franchise has long been known for its aggressive approach when it senses an opportunity, and this scenario appears to fit that pattern. Queen, still in his prime, represents exactly the type of dynamic presence modern defenses crave. His sideline-to-sideline range and ability to disrupt both the run and passing game could complement an already talented defensive front in Dallas. Insiders hint that the Cowboys front office views him not just as an addition, but as a potential centerpiece capable of transforming the unit's identity. There is also a growing belief that such a move, if pursued, would signal a clear win-now mentality. The Cowboys have built a competitive roster, but questions about consistency in key defensive moments have lingered. Bringing in a player of Queen's caliber could be interpreted as a decisive answer to those concerns. Still, skepticism remains. Financial constraints, team chemistry, and the unpredictable nature of the market all stand as obstacles. Rival teams are undoubtedly monitoring the situation, aware that any concrete step from Dallas could trigger a ripple effect across the league. For now, it remains a rumor, an intriguing possibility fueled by ambition and timing. But in a league where bold moves often separate contenders from champions, the idea of Patrick Queen wearing a Cowboys uniform is one that refuses to fade quietly. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.